Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Black Hearted Son, I'm Black, and again asking you to hit that share button. Thank you if you hit like or subscribe, but the share button is really important. You know why? The message is more important than the messenger. That being said, look, let me point out briefly how you'll notice I don't really tell older men to tie the knot. I push marriage, but I push marriage, even though I'm Muslim, I push it for young people, young men specifically. Now, I have no respect anymore for the materialism beyond a certain point that the wives often bring into the marriage. Not anymore because, well, they fail to understand. I mean, they would understand why there's never enough if they were to read the Quran anyway. So even though religiously I'm supposed to promote marriage anyway, I promote it for the young. I promote it for the young guys, especially when they don't have much. I promote it for them because they may not have much, and there's no reason for me to sit up here and tell only the well-to-do young guys to get married. They exist, but they're very rare, very few and very far between. Ideally, a woman would love for a man to have an older man's resources and a younger man's stamina in the bedroom. Ideally. I don't fault them for considering this an ideal, but again, that's not realistic to expect. So, you know, a woman wants you to be able to pull out, and the wall on the opposite side of the room needs a wipe down when you're done because you done shot the whole room up. And then afterwards, y'all can go out to a 5-star restaurant. That's what they generally want, ideally. And again, like I said, I don't blame them for considering that an ideal. But to consider that a standard is unrealistic. I promote this because I refuse to respect that uber level of materialism. It's disrespectful not only to man, but to God. Now, when men are young, it's when they have the least, and that's also when sex is going to be more important. If I were to tell old men, yeah, you go ahead, you tie the knot, get married. You got all these women chasing after you, go ahead and get married and do the right thing. If I were to tell them that, the problem is that these bras they would marry would still turn around and use his resources to then trick off younger men. That's what they would do. And that is a slap in the face to the older man that didn't have women coming up to him trying to pay him to relieve himself inside of their vaginas, but then is supposed to have resources in order to appeal to this woman so that she can turn around and trick off on a younger man to relieve her vagina. There is no polite way to say it. That's cold-blooded and treacherous. But that's exactly what a lot of them would do. And most of the older men would, even though most younger men would never be approached and tricked off like this and offered money to perform, most older men, if they got married, would be victims of that kind of cheating. Because see, as it is right now, women outnumber men so much, yet and still they always have higher body counts than the men. Well, that's because the few men that are responsible for these body counts, well, they're very few, but it's the same guys in their body counts. Some have in the hundreds. Well, that's because it's a few guys. You would sit up and think, how is it that sexually active men would have lower body counts than these women? Well, the reason is because, as we know, you understand the mechanism and how it works. Most men are going to be victimized by these games. The women, no matter how unattractive they are, they've got some sort of option, whereas guys can be young and have absolutely no options, even from women that are in the same categories as themselves. Same thing. When these men get older, if they do tie the knot, they will be cheated on, more than likely. And that's why I can't tell these older guys, okay, you got your career together, you got your life together. They're coming up to you, they're approaching you, do the right thing and get married. Yes, morally, I want to say that. Morally, I want to actually say pick two good ones and marry them both. I want to say that, but that's not legal where most of you live. So I can't tell them because, as we understand, you treat, or rather you beat a woman with another woman, not with your fist. And in societies where polygyny is legal, ironically, that's where they behave the best. In Africa, even for the Christians, polygyny is legal. And usually what they don't find is women hitting on men, beating men. Now, they may not be approached by them either, but believe you me, if they get older and they're successful enough and they're in shape, they do get approached. But I can't sit up here in good conscience and tell the men who have their stuff together, who are being approached by the women, to just go ahead and do the right thing and just marry. I can't say that anymore. Not with a good conscience. You will be used. If you do so and you're not used, you're lucky. But in many cases, when they're coming at you like this and they're young and they're fine, I can't tell you to fornicate, but I can tell you that you will regret the marriage. Strictly and only because that's just how they are. When you are young, if a woman does not want you when you are young and you don't have much, she ain't good for you. She ain't gonna help you get to where you want to go. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you should be able to be a bum, but if she ain't gonna help you get there, bye. Because you ain't gonna be able to trust her, and that's most of them. So you're not gonna be able to trust them when you get older and you get your stuff. A lot of you are gonna pump and dump anyway, even if I said don't do that. It's just sad that I have to tell you that marrying them would even be worse than fornicating with them. I hope that one day this message is not true anymore. In the meantime, I hope that it's a benefit. Assalamu alaikum, black heart, sign of blackout, black male power.